Last time we looked at 5 factors that influence our choice of retirement cash flow options. And yes, I know I messed up the scale on the graphics last time. Just a very few of you mentioned it. But this time I want to walk through how those factors come together into some kind of strategy for retirement cash flow. And I'm going to do that by working through some examples from some of the comments that were left on the last video. So I wonder, what will your outcome be? Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Matthew and I'm a chartered financial planner based here in the UK. This video, by the way, is brought to you by Meaningful Academy, Retirement Planning, more on which later. Okay, I've moved to the side here because I want to give you a reminder of the 5 factors that we talked about last time and which I suggest you score yourself on for each one of them. Now for more detail, you can watch the last video and I'll put a link in the description. So factor 1 is the need for guarantees. Either that the amount of income you get is guaranteed or that it will be there for life. Score yourself a 1 if you don't need any of your retirement income to be guaranteed, and a 5 if you want all of your income needs to be covered by guaranteed sources. Factor number 2 is your ability and willingness to manage a portfolio of investments, with a score of 1 being no way would you want to do that, and 5 being that you're experienced and happy to manage your investments. Next is your tolerance for and understanding of investment risk, with a score of 1 being that you are a cautious investor generally, and 5 being that you understand investment risk and you have weathered significant market storms before. Factor number 4 is your desire to leave a legacy and to have some money left that you can give to family or to your favorite causes, either in later life or when you die. Score a 1 for spending it all, and 5 if you want to be sure of leaving a really good financial legacy behind. And finally, factor number 5 is your expectation of longevity. None of us know when we're going to die, of course, but most of us have some kind of expectation based on our family history, our own health, and all that. Score a 1 if you don't expect to live a long time, and a 5 if you're aiming for age 100 at least. Now, a number of you put your scores in the comments last week, so I'm going to choose 3 and talk you through what they might lead me to consider if I was advising you on your retirement cash flow plans. So first up is Julian, who scored himself 3, 5, 3, 1, and 4. There are a couple of middle of the road scores there for guarantees and risk tolerance. Julian considers himself willing and able to manage his investments and definitely doesn't want to leave a legacy. And his expectation of longevity is a 4, so he reckons he's going to be living a pretty long time. Now, the alignment of his risk profile and his need for guarantees makes sense. It would be a bit unexpected to have someone with a really strong need for guarantees and a high tolerance for risk. Those options would seem to be a bit mutually exclusive. His willingness to manage a portfolio of investments would lead us to err towards drawdown, perhaps with a simple portfolio and a cash flow ladder or bucketing approach. But then, his expectation of longevity would nudge me back towards at least considering an annuity. He's going to live a long time, and that is compounded by his clear lack of interest in leaving a legacy. So I think I would definitely be looking at securing a reasonable portion of his cash flow needs with an annuity. That's assuming he doesn't have DB pension scheme benefits. Depending on the cost of that and how much money that leaves him, he could consider an income investment strategy, which is a kind of halfway house between secured income, an annuity, and capital withdrawal. I think the biggest challenge for Julian is getting the amounts right. The balance between securing income with an annuity, investing for income, and then having fun by investing the rest for growth, that might be a tricky balance to strike. Next example is Steve, who scored himself 2, 5, 5, 4, and 3. So clearly Steve is a confident investor. He's got 2 5s in the portfolio management and risk scores. He doesn't need much guarantee, scores himself a 2 there. He does want to leave a legacy though, scoring himself a 4 out of 5, and he has a middle of the road expectation of longevity. All of this is leading me away from an annuity and towards a pure drawdown capital withdrawal approach. So he could invest all for growth and capital withdrawal, or he could blend that with some income investing. If I were advising Steve, I'd be looking very closely at the likely longevity of his portfolio. What are the chances of him running out of money? I certainly would look at using a cash flow ladder approach to minimize the risk of sequencing risk. That's the risk that a bad set of market results early on in the portfolio's life will have a devastating effect on how long it'll last. Steve's going to need to review his costs and his approach regularly throughout retirement to make sure that he's on track. Okay, if this is helpful so far, you know what to do. Please leave a like for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I would really appreciate it because it really helps. Thanks so much. So our final example is Alan, who scores himself 5, 1, 1, 4, and 4. So that's a very high need for guarantees, no desire or willingness to manage a portfolio, and a very low attitude to and understanding of risk. But he would like to leave a legacy though, and he believes he'll live a reasonably long time. Clearly Alan is a much more cautious person than Steve in the last example. He should definitely be looking at some kind of an annuity to secure as much of his expected cash flow needs in retirement as possible. He should shop around for that annuity also. The best providers change all the time. And while there aren't too many providers in the market at the moment, I won't be surprised if more enter the market before too long. Alan should definitely look at annuity options with a death benefit. That's one way he could leave the legacy that he desires. Remember also that you can get something called a temporary annuity or a fixed term annuity, one that lasts a finite amount of time instead of full life. He should also make sure that whatever annuity he chooses is index linked. That way, the income from the annuity should hopefully keep pace with inflation. Alan should be checking his state pension provision, but that's true of everybody. You have checked yours recently, haven't you? If he has a DB pension scheme, he should look to maximize the income from it rather than take the tax-free cash and the lower income just because he can. He could even consider taking out a whole of life insurance policy to provide that legacy for his family, put it into trust, or maybe he just ring fences some of his money and invests it in something really simple that'll look after itself and then never look at it again. If he has no desire to run a portfolio himself, he could work with an advisor. Obviously that'll cost him in fees, but maybe that's worth paying to put the money in the hands of someone he can trust to do it. That's if there's anything left, of course. I obviously would never advocate buying an annuity with everything you've got. But Alan's risk profile is such that rather than risk money trying to make it grow, he might actually have to reduce his expectation of what he can spend in retirement. Before we wrap up, let me put in a word here about Meaningful Academy Retirement Planning. This is my online course which is designed to help you plan and execute your perfect retirement and keep it under review through changing circumstances and a changing world. All the information you need is at meaningfulacademy.com/retirement planning. It's a really busy place and there's loads of cool people in the community. So if you think it's for you, use the coupon code YouTube when you sign up for a decent discount. Okay, a couple of really important things to mention as we wrap up here. Firstly, your scores on the 5 factors will very likely change throughout retirement, so it's vital to reassess yourself as you go. For example, you may feel consummately able to manage an investment portfolio now at age 60, say, but will you still want to at age 80? How about age 90? Maybe, maybe not. We need to be open to the fact that our feelings on these things will change throughout life and try to be honest with ourselves. We also need to factor in those left behind and the state that we leave things in for them. But really my main point here is that it is impossible to treat this subject of retirement cash flow in a purely mathematical, scientific way. A couple of you mentioned that if I'd changed the scales of factor 1 and 5 around, we could have kind of taken an average. But that's just too much of an oversimplification. Please be very wary of having your major financial life choices reduced to an average of your answers to just 5 questions. The goal here is to make you think about the implications of your retirement cash flow choices on each of the factors and the impact of those factors on your choices, vice versa. Honestly, if this could be distilled to just an algorithm, I'd be out of a job. As it is, there's just too much human emotional complexity in play, and that's a good thing. That's why I always say my job is not about money at all, it's about people. No doubt we'll return to this subject a few times this year and probably for years to come. But for now, thank you for watching this video. Give it a like if it was helpful and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.